Welcome everyone to the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. I'm your host, Michael Pickering. That's right, Lo-Fi as in low fidelity, low quality, in-your-face, messy as can be global news show. Here we're going to talk about that famous question, what's going on in the world today? We'll be covering 5 headlines from across the globe and then choose one to go into a more detailed analysis. The news fresh off the press. Source, Reuters World. Journalists at Russian business newspaper complain of pro-Kremlin censorship. That's right, folks. Several journalists at a prominent Russian business paper called Vedomosti are complaining that their editor is blocking stories focusing on, or rather criticizing, President Putin's planned constitutional change to allow him to rule the country until 2036. The implications. As we've previously discussed, Putin's planned change to the constitution to solidify his continued place of power as head of Russia, it comes as no surprise that media outlets are being censored in a way to make this story look anything but a great move for Russia. And if you think I'm being hard on Russia, wait till we get to them in our segment of Reporters Without Borders. They rank 149 out of 180 countries and territories in the world. That should be a statement in and of itself. Moving on. Next up, source, AP News International. EU says Britain making unrealistic post-Brexit demands. Well, surprise, surprise. Houston, we have a problem with Brexit. That's right, on this beautiful Friday afternoon. After 3 years of negotiation, 3 prime ministers, a whole lot of back and forth, and the world as it is today, Brexit is still in trouble. As I've said before, Lo-Fi Nation, the world is still turning as it always does, and this story is the same old story. The implications. The UK is standing firm on the idea that they will be officially out of the Economic Trade Union on December 31. And the EU says, then let's make a new trade agreement. And then no one can decide what the new plan will look like. The question to students of Lofi Poli Sci: will the UK really leave on December 31? Or will they ask for an extension? Will they even be able to make a trade deal by December 31, even if they do leave by that date? Write in with your response, simply stating, should I stay or should I go? And now, Friday, it's Freedom House Friday as we continue our journey down Central America right before we break into South America. Today we're featuring Panama. Geography lesson, Lo-Fi listeners. Panama borders Costa Rica to the west, the Caribbean Sea to the north, Colombia to the east, and the Pacific Ocean to the south. Let's remember that Freedom House creates a freedom score from 0 to 100, based off of the level of civil liberties and civil rights in a country, as well as 3 categories of free, partially free, and not free. For a bit of perspective on Panama, their World Bank 2018 reported GDP per capita was about $15,500 a year, making it a middle-of-the-way country as far as economic development goes. And in 2019, Panama received a Freedom House score of 84 out of 100, with a ranking of free. To quote Freedom House, Panama's political institutions are democratic, with competitive elections and orderly rotations of power. Freedoms of expression and association are generally respected. However, corruption and impunity are serious challenges, affecting the justice system and the highest levels of government. Discrimination against racial minorities is common, and indigenous groups have struggled to uphold their legal rights with respects to land and development projects. End quote. The implications. That even in a democracy as free as Panama, and a country with a decent degree of economic prosperity, there always resides issues of different groups being excluded or discriminated against. This again reinforces the idea that democratization is, and always, everywhere, an unfinished process. And now for our headline in the Spotlight segment. Source, Reuters World News. Saudi-led coalition announces 1-month extension of Yemen ceasefire. This news comes as the previous ceasefire was never fully implemented or respected, but in hopes that, due to current global conditions, the civil war in the country will come to a pause for humanitarian reasons. The background and the implications of the story. The civil war in Yemen has its roots in the Arab Spring, which started in 2010-2011, as we spoke about this week with the story on Syria. A major difference between these 2 cases is that the world's largest man-made famine ensued from this civil war. And to be clear, it is a man-made famine. People are not dying of starvation because of a drought or lack of food. They are dying of starvation because people are being withheld food, and aid is not being allowed to go into regions that it is most direly needed. In short, this isn't a food shortage issue. It's a food distribution issue. Any possibility of a ceasefire to help ease this situation is something everyone, everywhere should get behind. We here at Lofi Poli Sci are hoping for you, Yemen. Let there be peace. And a last piece of news on this fantastically fresh Friday. Source, BBC News. Science. Hubble telescope delivers stunning 30th birthday picture. All those amazing photos of space that we like so much for computer backgrounds? Thank you, Hubble. Happy birthday. Take some time today to see what our universe looks like. It's truly inspiring. The implications. Be it the Milky Way, a cosmic reef, or a nebula of ever-expandingly beautiful space debris. So many colors and shapes that make up our space. As always, Lo-Fi Nation, when you look up at the sky tonight, say thank you and happy birthday, Hubble. And remember, in the vastness that is space, we are never alone. We are we. And that's a brief snapshot of what's going on in the world today. Please write in with your questions, comments, and requests for our country and news segments to Lofi Poli Sci at planetmail.com. That's Lofi, L-O-F-I, Poli, P-O-L-I, Sci, S-C-I, at planetmail.com. Let me say thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, wash those hands, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. Pickering, signing off.